Hello, we're going to do a video about changing your brake fluid. It's important to do every couple of years. So far, I've taken the cap off. I've Mityvac'd the old fluid out of the front reservoir. And Mityvac looks like this. There's a little canister that goes on the end here that as you suction out by pumping the grip there, as you suction out the fluid, it fills the can, reservoir, and then you can dump that out. So to take off that cap, there's usually on your bike there's going to be a screw, detent or whatever to lock the cap in place. And then inside the cap you'll have a rubber anti-slosh unit along with a little plastic washer to keep you from damaging the gasket when you tighten down your cap. I gotta wipe that off. So anyway, I wiped everything down. There's a little bit on the bottom of that. So once you get all of that out, then you're ready to add a little fluid to the top and then start actually pulling the old fluid out of the calipers and out of the brake line. So I'll be back after I add a little bit to the top. I've filled the reservoir up. You'll notice I have a rag wrapped around the reservoir. The reason for that is brake fluid will eat your paint. So wrap something around the reservoir in case you have a little bit of a spill or whatever. No matter how careful you are, it always happens. Better safe than sorry. So down here, I have the wrench on the bleed nipple there, and I have my Mityvac hooked up. I have to put the reservoir on the end of it. The sequence will be you pump it up, okay, and then the vacuum gauge will go up. Once you have good vacuum, you release the pressure or the suction by opening up the valve, and it'll suck fluid through the brake line and through the caliper. You start with the caliper furthest away from the reservoir, which on this bike is the clutch side. All right, a little discussion about the brake fluid I'm using. Yeah, $30 for a 16 fluid ounce bottle. It's AP Racing. I've used it on cars and everything else for many, many years. The boiling point of this stuff is you can see it in there. This is the R3. So the point is 383 degrees wet. Okay, what that means is that at about 3.5% water, because brake fluid is hydroscopic. Now a lot of times people don't want to go with a racing fluid. Oh, it's too hydroscopic, it attracts water, blah blah blah, faster than regular like DOT3 or DOT4 fluid. This is 5.1. Very important not to use 5. 5 is mineral based. It's not compatible with most braking systems. So this is 5.1, DOT 5.1. It is hydroscopic. All brake fluids are hydroscopic. It's a good thing because then that way any moisture that works its way through your brake lines will disperse through the entirety of the fluid, as opposed to pulling up in the bottom of your caliper. You reach for a brake and at 100 degrees C or 210 degrees Fahrenheit, water boils and you have no brake pressure. So by dispersing it throughout all of the brake fluid, the degradation is much slower because water is denser than brake fluid. Anyway, it's not as hydroscopic as a lot of people will make it out to be, racing fluid anyway. I've had the stuff, I don't use it, but I just had a bottle on the shelf. It's been there for about 5 years. Brake fluid will change colors as it gets more and more moisture in it. It gets darker and darker. Okay, and I just like I said, I had this bottle on the shelf for let me think, 4 or 5 years, and I threw it out, but it had not changed color significantly. Anyway, so let's get the reservoir on the end of this Mityvac. Of course, the other way you do it is you pump it up, you hold it, you turn the bleed valve, and then tighten the bleed valve back up before you release the brake lever. But this way is just a little easier when you're all alone. You got no one to pump up and hold for you. All right, be back. Here's where we are now. I've refilled this reservoir one time, so two fill-ups of the reservoir. Putting the vacuum on with the Mityvac and then draining it through. Way more than I needed to do. I just wanted to be thorough to make sure I'm getting all of it out. And there's where you see I'm maintaining pressure. I have the bleed nut tightened back up. Now I can pull off this. Okay, which is nice because that way it sucks the rest of everything through. Keep that upright. Okay, make sure we're tight here. Yep. Now I'll refill the reservoir and move over to the other side. Here's how it looks all hooked up. Don't worry about the bubbles that are coming up there. That's actually just a little bit of leaking around the edges of the tubing on the nipple. Anyway, see, I've got full vacuum. My reservoir is filling up here, the vacuum reservoir. And we're still looking good up here. So we'll close that off. We'll add a little bit more fluid in there. Bleed just a little more, and that'll be it. As you can see, what I'm pulling out into the vacuum reservoir is very bright orange, just like the replacement fluid I'm using. The second side, the side that ends up being closer to the to the cylinder, master cylinder, is it bleeds far faster because you're not traveling as far, and in the process of basically you're really only bleeding this much plus what's in the caliper, because when you did the other side you got the upline and everything else. All right, procedure for the back is exactly the same. There's the little screw, I don't know what you want to call it, detent holder or whatever, that locks the cap in place. So you'll take that off, remove the reservoir cap. The nice thing is there's only one bleeder on the rear brake, and there's no brake, obviously, caliper on the other side, so you don't need very much fluid at all for the rear, just like you really didn't need that much for the front. I hope you found this video helpful. Again, this is not a paid situation. I've used this brake fluid for a very long time in cars and bikes. I like the firmness that it gives to the brake pedal and the caliper. Anyway, it's their R3, so you could take a step down to like the R2. It's still 5.1, a boiling point 600 degrees, just under, like at 585, I think, something like that. But I don't know, just always been real happy with AP, and that's what I'm using. So if you did find this useful or helpful, please subscribe to my channel. It's a big help to content developers on YouTube to have subscribers. And like, comment, whatever you'd like. I do respond. So take care. Thank you for watching.